Good evening, folks. My name is Charlotte Clymer. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a writer and activist, and I am so excited to be part of this historic gathering of women across the country.
This is just ridiculous. You know, sometimes the parody becomes the reality. So last night, the Kamala Harris campaign announced a new coalition called White Dudes for Kamala, which is exactly what it sounds like. It is an attempt to win over the white male vote because they know Kamala Harris is going to struggle with that demographic, and for valid reason. Let's not forget the fact that her side of the political aisle is constantly alienating and demonizing straight white men. So, you know, what do you expect? But last night, at least it seemed like they were trying to change their tune. They were trying to be welcoming and appealing to white men, except the only problem is the white men that they put on this call were literally a right-wing parody of what you would think a liberal white guy is, right? This whole call was completely ridiculous. But, you know, I at least thought for a minute that maybe they would try to find, even if they're actors, they would try to find some normal, relatable, well-adjusted, straight white dudes to try to put in front of the camera. But no, today we are going to react to some of the best segments of the White Dudes for Kamala Zoom call that took place last night. And like, just take a look at this guy. He literally has the man bun. He is a right-wing parody of what you would think a white male liberal would be, and this is basically who they put up for the entire Zoom call. But let's take a listen to some of this. So the White Dudes for Kamala Zoom call opened with content like this. Take a listen.
And that happens at the same time as the myths around America that we grew up with, that we as men are expected to be protectors and providers, are going out into an economy that doesn't really allow for that, especially for working class folks. And sort of like compounding on that, you know, masculinity as a trope has been co-opted by the MAGA right into something that feeds into and exacerbates the loneliness epidemic, as well as the mental health crisis that many face that end up leading to really destructive behaviors. We aren't the only ones that are hurt by these things. Black and brown people, LGBTQIA plus people, especially trans women and indigenous people, and, you know, all sorts of other folks in our society who've been historically and often still today are marginalized and being hurt, demonized, and marginalized even further. So
yeah, so again, folks, this was the White Dudes for Kamala campaign call. Now, when I first heard they were announcing a white male coalition, I sort of thought, at least slightly for a moment, that this was their attempt to moderate themselves, right? To not seem like radicals, to not seem so woke. Hey, here's normal American white guys who are also for Kamala Harris. It's not just this coalition of fringe radicals and freaks. And yet you take a listen to one of the very first speakers on the Zoom call, and he's a millennial with a man bun, and he's talking about smashing the patriarchy and LGBTQIA and all this stuff. And again, I will reiterate, it is the right-wing parody of what you would think white liberal men are. And so again, I was concerned a little bit, hey, maybe this is actually a smart idea by the Kamala campaign. But in all reality, I forgot the type of people who really do run the Democrat Party. And in many ways, I think doing this call really lost probably more white male votes than it gained, because it's just ridiculous. Okay, that said, let's continue because there's a lot more. But before we do that, folks, be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe if you are new and you are enjoying the content. But up next, you have this guy. Okay, just take a look at him. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he was an actor. I think he's in the Frozen movie or something like that. But that's besides the point. Take a listen to how he explains that he cried. He cried when Trump won on election night in 2016. And I'm sure, folks, this is really going to be a message that resonates with normal straight white men. Okay, take a listen.
But here I am. Also, quick observation. They have Kid Rock, Kevin Sorbo, and a dolphin aficionado. And we have the Hulk, Samwise Gamgee, Luke Skywalker, and Mayor Pete just on this Zoom. That's pretty damn cool. I'm a white dude. That much you can probably tell by now. But I also happen to be a father of two girls. I have a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old. And I'm not sure if you guys can recall that feeling you had on the night of Tuesday, November 8th, 2016. I stood over my kid's bed and I wept. I wept because I felt like I let them down. I wept because they had the chance, and we had the chance, to have a female president for the first time in our lives.
Oh my!
In the history of this nation. And instead, we put a man in office who not only disdains women, but whose own wife can't look him in the eye, whose own daughters seem to want nothing to associate him, to be associated with him.
Okay, so already, let's keep a running list of the ambassadors for white dudes who should support Kamala Harris so far. So we have a millennial hippie in a man bun talking about smashing the patriarchy and supporting LGBTQIA. And then you have another guy who cried. He cried in front of his children because Trump won the election. I mean, again, firstly, this reads as a right-wing parody. If we were to make a comedy sketch about the white dudes for Kamala Harris, this is the type of content that would be produced, except it's not a comedy sketch. It is actually real. And I once again ask the question, if your goal is to maybe minimize the damage with the white male vote, and you're gonna do that by saying, hey, look, there's white dudes for Kamala Harris, you couldn't have chosen slightly better ambassadors, I don't know, normal, good-looking, well-adjusted guys than I cried because Trump won the election, I cried in front of my children, I don't know. But anyways, we also had Pete Buttigieg on this Zoom call, and he was busy talking about abortion rights and how important they are to men, which is kind of strange considering the fact that Pete Buttigieg is, of course, a gay man. So, you know, even the topic where you're going to bring up abortion, you couldn't have picked a slightly better ambassador than the guy who's literally gay and I don't think has to be worried about abortion that much. But I don't know. Again, it all reads as parody, right? Take a listen to Pete Buttigieg.
I'm so glad she has made freedom the theme of her campaign, because I think in so many ways that's what's at stake. And yes, women's freedom is Exhibit A after Donald Trump demolished the right to choose. But of course, men are also more free in a country where we have a president who stands up for things like access to abortion care. Men.
Again, okay, I mean, I guess there's an argument that they're trying to make there about abortion. But if you're going to do that, why do you pick the gay guy to be the abortion ambassador? Like, that doesn't even make sense. That's just not smart politics, okay? I mean, you know, just to begin with, I don't know how many men are really voting on the issue of abortion to begin with, besides the hardcore Democrats. But even still, if you want to bring that up, if you're going to try to make that a talking point to win over the white male vote, why don't you pick a straight white guy? I have no idea. You also had Sha King. Okay, this is not a joke. Sha King was on the White Dudes for Harris Zoom call, which is interesting because I thought he was black, or I thought he at least pretended or acted like he was black. So apparently Sha King has now finally accepted the reality that you ain't black, in the words of Joe Biden. You see him there on the White Dudes for Harris Zoom call. I don't know, just kind of funny. And then this guy compared the call to rehab. He said this is a safe space for men to gather and share how they feel. And he says he's voting for Kamala because she smiles, dances, and laughs.
What?
Okay, all right, you know, great argument there, and totally not a satire of what the right wing would say liberal men are like, but okay, take a listen.
Called and agreed to accept help. And so we found a good program for him to go through. He did it, 90 days, it was awesome. But like families feel when someone goes through that, there's uncertainty about whether or not they'll relapse, about what's going to happen with their life, you know? And after about, I don't know, 2 or 3 years of him regularly coming, he had moved back to be with my dad on the East Coast, but regularly coming back, and you'd kind of be like, oh, do you have work? Like, what's going on? He was always coming back to be with his men's group. I think they had more than white men in that group. So, but
what?
The idea that men can gather to talk about how we feel. Interesting, powerful concept. And the other side, they try and take everything that's good about us and demean it. Kamala Harris smiles. She laughs. She dances. She has joy. She's alive. And they try and ridicule her for that. And they try and undermine us.
Apparently, the Men for Kamala Harris campaign is like a therapy session, which I guess is not entirely wrong. Strange argument. I don't know what that is supposed to mean. And then he likes Kamala Harris because she smiles and dances and laughs. Okay. If you're wondering why this all is, apparently these are the characters. You see these three guys on your screen. These are the people who are in charge of the White Dudes for Harris coalition part of their campaign. So I don't know. I guess it makes sense. I guess it makes sense why the call went the way it did. But apparently yesterday, the Kamala campaign also did a Woman for Kamala Zoom meeting, and this was one of the people in charge. Okay, so you're probably already seeing what I'm seeing there, but let's take a listen to this quote-unquote Woman for Kamala Harris.
Good evening, folks. My name is Charlotte Clymer. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a writer and activist, and I am so excited to be part of this historic gathering of women across the country. Now, look, I'm not going to repeat to y'all what the brilliant and eloquent women have stated before me, and nor do I have the eloquence and brilliance of the women who are going to speak over the remainder of the evening.
I don't think that's the only characteristic you're lacking of some of the women who are going to be speaking tonight. Okay, there might be other characteristics, just saying.
I'm just going to tell y'all a quick story about why I proudly support Vice President Harris.
Okay, so again, that was the Woman for Kamala call. I don't know if that's a woman, okay? It's just saying, you know, you say the call is all Woman for Kamala Harris, and then you have a guy up there. Just a thought, okay? But anyways, there you have it. Those were unironically the campaign calls of the Kamala Harris campaign last night. You had White Dudes for Kamala Harris that was full of literal right-wing stereotypes, okay, literal memes, SJW memes as real people speaking for them, and the messaging there, again, White Dudes for Kamala, is both anti-male and anti-white. So great job. I'm sure the Trump coalition is seething. They're panicking about this right now. They're so scared of White Dudes for Kamala Harris. And then you have the Woman for Kamala Harris having men speak as Woman for Kamala Harris. So I don't know. I'll close with this. This is a pure reason why I think it is stupid for conservatives to panic and run around like headless chickens thinking that Kamala Harris is some type of invincible political threat. Because look, is it true? Yes, she's in her honeymoon phase. Yes. Is it also true that will be probably a little bit more electable than Joe Biden was at the end? Absolutely. Obviously, for the past couple of years, it seems like they've been trying to tone down some of the woke stuff publicly in their campaign messaging because they know it's not popular. But again, they just can't help themselves. They just can't avoid it. So I wouldn't be too concerned, folks. You know, don't be complacent. We need to work hard, but I think it should be a point of optimism that our Women for Trump are actually women, okay? And our White Dudes for Trump and our Men for Trump, etc., are just normal people, okay? Whereas on the other side, you have a clown show like this. So with that said, folks, let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comment section down below. And until next time, be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe if you are new. God bless and peace.